lovelies, welcome back to the channel. So today I have another journal flip through. This one is of my Unraveling journal that I kept last year for 2023. I do think I mentioned that I was going to keep the same journal into 2024 because I was gonna basically continue on with my word heart, and I'm still doing that. But when I went to go and like do my intro pages for the year, I just noticed that this was really chunky. So what I ended up doing was splitting it. So initially I made this with 2 signatures. I barely filled out one. So what I did was I just kind of took out the second signature, I repositioned this signature, and now my 2024 Unraveling journal will be in this one. So this is the signature that I had in here, and so I will be doing 2024 in here. And so it's sort of a companion because I am gonna continue with my word heart just in a different way, and I've been thinking about it. So this one, I made this journal in sort of my snippet journal style, and honestly I really didn't have the time nor the motivation to do all the snippet stuff, so I just took a piece of one of my favorite fabrics. Actually, this fabric you can find at Hobby Lobby, and actually the lace too. This is my favorite lace that I like to pick up when I'm at a Hobby Lobby. And I try to match the colors of this cover with the colors of what I use to create the inserts. And these inserts, since this was already made in here, I kind of wanted to keep to the same color scheme. The color scheme for this is definitely Maggie Holmes's Parasol collection, and so I tried to kind of match it because they are going to be different unfurling journeys, right? With my word, or I actually don't have a word for 2024 yet for this year. Again, I still want to use my word heart, but the word courage has been popping up a lot for me, joy, and also healing, which were supporting words in this. And so I might do a phrase for this, and I know it's already March and I don't have a word or anything yet, but I think that's what it's gonna be. I think as I'm filming this upcoming weekend, I'm probably gonna sit down and start working in here. But yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I just took out the second signature, repositioned this, and so now this is its own journal, and I want to share it with you here. And so I primarily worked in this last year, of course, but mostly for documenting my journey and for creating my unfurling course. And so I will leave a link down below to my unfurling course because a lot of the actually maybe like all the process videos for this particular journal are in that course. And so I just wanted to show a flip through. Again, my cover is, I created it like my snippet journal cover. It's pretty much the same thing. So I have a course called the Snippet Journal where I show you how to create a fabric cover literally just like this. The one that I create in the course is a little smaller. I just adjust this for the size that I want it. And this is more of like a A5-ish or 6x8 sort of size. But yeah, very nice patchworky, very textile. Have some slow stitching and some ribbons and textile. It's just beautiful. How I bind it, I always leave the strings loose, and so I just put some beads here. This Tim Holtz, what is this? The Tim Holtz charm, it actually says heart, which is my word, and then I put a quartz heart bead there, and the other ones had like more stuff on it, but of course I just transferred it over for this one. So yeah, let me get into it. And so yes, my word was heart. And so I started it off with this sort of like title page, I guess you can say. And I loved this kind heart. This was from, I believe it was from the Parasol. I used a lot of Maggie Holmes Parasol collection in this. I used a lot of Rosie Studio stuff, and I used quite a bit of printables from Nazi. I believe it was like the French cottage printables. I know it was pockets and paper that I bought from Nazi's shop. And so I will try to leave links down below to pretty much like all the collections I used for this, but it's going to be the same collection I think I'm going to use this year because they're sort of companions. I don't know if that makes sense. I initially wanted to keep both years into one journal, but realistically, like, it was so, like, if you, this is kind of chunky, it was so difficult when I did want to come in and start documenting 2024. It was just really difficult to journal. And so I decided to split them up. And so I kind of want them to match, but be separate journals. So this is my title page, and then coming into the first spread, this is basically the introduction, and then my stats page. I always like to do a stats page, and it's basically where I introduce the journal, introduce my word or my intention for the year, and then I do a stats page, which is sort of like a selfie or self-portrait from that time, my current state of being, my age, my name, and stuff like that. Yeah, this is my words. And so heart was my main word, and then heal, joy, explore, and create art were the supporting words to this word. So usually how I do my words is I always pick a word, I have supporting words that support the word. So the word is sort of like the umbrella, and then all the supporting words are under that umbrella. And each supporting word supports an intention that I have set for myself for that year. And so I kind of called this whole thing my heart journey because of that word, and I'm continuing my heart journey into this year with pretty much the same words. Heal, joy, and heart are definitely coming with me, and I'm just adding courage to it. So I'm not doing create art or explore, I'm adding courage to it. I always like to include the books that I'm reading. And so these are all the books that I read this year. Well, in 2023, only 8 books, which is very sad for me, but hopefully I get to read more, but that's what these are. And then this is just me journaling out what each supporting word represents. So like I said, all of my supporting words usually represent an intention that I have for the year, and then all those intentions add up to my one little word for the year. And that's usually how I do it. So I just made this pocket here, and then clipped to it I have Light the Way, which is another one of those little Tim Holtz coins. Charms, I love these things. Like every time I find them, I always grab them because I love them. This was an entry noticing the driftwood. So I always do Gabby Bernstein's manifestation challenge every January. She does it every January. And one of the lessons there is to notice the driftwood. And it's basically noticing the signs. The universe gives us signs, and sometimes, most of the time, if we're not in tune and into the present moment, we can miss them or we can ignore them. But usually if you see similar themes or similar signs popping up for you, those, you should pay attention to them, because those signs and synchronicities, they're the driftwood of basically whatever it is you're desiring. And so it has to do with manifestation. And so I was noticing all of the signs and what that meant for my personal journey. And I wanted to get that into my Unraveling journal because I was getting a lot of them. There was just a lot of them. And so I put them in here, and I did all my journaling about it. And this is one of Nazzie's pockets that I've tipped in with, did I tip it in with a doily? I totally did tip it in with the doily. It's just that this magazine image is covering it up, but I tipped it in with the doily, which is fun. I've done this before in an art journal. And in the pocket is my timeline of my life. And so this is a prompt in my Unfurling course, where I have you journal out your timeline of your life. So this one's mine. Basically important dates, and I just wrote them all out and stuck them in here. And I created this little Polaroid. This is one of my cut files, but I had these press flowers. These are actually the buds of my orchid. And so if you've heard about my orchid, I think I have a separate video where I talk to you the story of my orchid. I also have a blog post where I talk about the story of my orchid. My orchid, this was a piece of driftwood last year, and honestly it's a piece of driftwood this year as well because it bloomed again at the same time in the beginning of the year. So once the petals, they would fall, they fall off. Orchids, they grow in cycles. I kept 2 of them. I kept some of them, and then I just pressed them between some laminating sheets, and then I just used one of my cut files. This is the white is one of my cut files, and I backed it with some pattern paper, and I basically made like a little translucent Polaroid with the blooms of my orchid. And then I tucked it in here. This was the first, like this was like the first year where I actually noticed my orchid blossoming towards the new year. And, you know, if you remember my videos from early 2023, you would understand the significance of this. And so, yeah, just having a bit of that, a bit of my plant here, my flower, it's really nice. And so I have that in here. This is my vision board, and so I like doing my vision board in my journal, and usually they span a couple of pages. This one spans about 3 pages, and yeah, I think so. My unfurling journey in the beginning of 2023 was all about just healing from 2022. You know, healing my heart and kind of coming back to self and kind of rediscovering who I was, because I just felt so lost and so heartbroken. And, you know, if you've seen that video where I talk about my word heart, if you go all the way back, you'll know the details of it. But so my vision boards were all about that, especially about letting go and like being okay with the endings, because new beginnings will come. And then just, you know, doing the unraveling, you know, doing all of it just to get to know myself more, or just to find myself again, because I did feel a little bit lost in 2022. And so these are my pages for that. You can see I did a lot of words, a lot of things that I cut up from magazines, a lot of stickers, a lot of phrase stickers. I love this image. It was from a Bella Grace magazine, Where I Unfold. And then this was more for like me and for my soul and for affirmations and where I wanted to sit inside of me emotionally. And then this was just like all the things that I want to do. Did not learn how to ride a bike. Did not get a cat. I wasn't that creative, but that's where this kind of represented. So I try to put things here. Usually my vision boards are very aesthetic, and only because usually I want my life to look like my vision boards. I want them to be just as aesthetic, but I also try to use things that will symbolize things. Like I really want a cat, but I can't really realistically get a cat until I get my own place. And so the bike, I always have a bicycle. Every vision board for like the last couple of years had a bicycle in it, because I want to learn how to ride a bike, because I don't know how to ride a bike, and I still have not learned how to ride a bike. And I think my vision board for this year will also have a bicycle in it, because that's something that I kind of want to do. This was because I wanted to be more creative. And then I always like putting like some sort of clothing just to represent my style. And honestly, out of everything on this vision board, that is what I aced, is just kind of honing in on my personal style in terms of what I wear and how I present myself. And yeah, but this always ends up looking aesthetic. This was about bringing more love pretty much into my life. And I suppose that's the natural thing that you want and desire when you get out of a breakup. And so this image was from a Victoria magazine. This was from Susanna Conway's book. No, this was from a Daphne's Diary. This was from Susanna Conway's book, because I did take a copy of one of her books to make my journal from like 2022. Yeah, I think it was 2022. And so, you know, I cut up a bunch of her words, and then I paired it with this quote from Mary Oliver that was in a Bella Grace magazine. And even though this was supposed to represent me wanting to find a new love, it ended up, after I did it, basically finding love within my life and you know, my life as it is now. So the quote here, it says, "When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was the bride, married to amazement. I was the bridegroom, taking the world into my arms." And so and then over here it says, "Follow your dreams, and then when you're ready, open your eyes." A big thing that I've been trying to cultivate is more mindfulness and more gratitude and more being focused on being in the present, because I'm like all over the place. I tend to live in the past and live in the future, but never in the present. And this is all about being married to the amazement and the awe of the now. And that's the type of love that I needed in 2023 and I still need now. And so that's probably this. I'm probably going to do something similar to this in my vision board for this year, because this was just, yeah, this is it for me. I really want to cultivate being more present and being more mindful of being in the present moment and not in the past or the future, because I tend to do that. I tend to live in those two places instead of the present moment. This, I always have a section, well, I have a section in my unfurling process, but also in my course, where I want you to get to know yourself more. So like basically do some research about yourself. And this always dives into personality assessments. I love those. Anyway, I got really into astrology the beginning of 2023. And so I did mine about my birth chart. And so this is my birth chart. You don't need to know what this says or how to read this. I know how to read my birth chart, but yeah, I learned how to read my birth chart actually. I'm still learning. I don't know everything about astrology in 1 year, but I'm learning, and every time I look at my chart, I notice something different, and I look it up, and just I always learn more about myself. That's the whole point of taking those personality assessments, like the Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram, your love languages, is that every time you do it, hopefully you'll learn something new about yourself. I know I do. And so that's why I always do it every single year. This year was more of my birth chart and like all the information, all the things. So I get it in here. And I think, yeah, I think I just did my birth chart. I have some of my self-portraits in here. I usually just back them, print them out, back them. And I have them in here in a vellum pocket. This is more journaling. I think that's just my journaling from here continued on to here and here. I did do a new assessment. This one is my hierarchy of values, meaning what I value, what I valued in that present moment. What I valued in that present moment was creativity, self-growth, work, travel, and new experiences, finance, money, love, and other. This should be interesting because I believe every season of your life, your core values change. And so this would be something interesting for me to do now and see what my core values are now and see how that compares to when I did it at the start of 2023. And so that's in here. And then I have some journaling here. This one was on stillness. I believe I was also doing Liz's class this year. In 2023, I was doing Liz Lamoureux's Water Your Soul course, which was all about exploring and spaces. And so I think I've mentioned this a million of times. I know I've mentioned Liz like all the time. I love Liz. She has this thing, this is her thing, that we all live in the and space. Like we can feel happiness and sadness at the same time. And that's the and space. That's being in that middle space between the two emotions that kind of don't make sense to be together, but that's life, right? We can feel hope, but also uncertainty. And so the whole course was about exploring and spaces. And I believe within that course, I think one of the and spaces was pause, and I forgot what the other one was, but anyway, this whole post is on stillness because when I looked at my chart and everything, I follow an astrologer who's a psychotherapist. Her name is Deborah Silverman. I think I've mentioned her too a bunch of times, but she has a book called The Missing Element. We all consist of all 4 elements, like our personalities, fire, air, water, and earth. And those elements show up in astrology, and based on your chart, you can be more of one element than the other. Based on your life experiences, you can exhibit more element than the other. It has a lot of things, and each person is different, and each person's mixture of elements are different. And so I know at this time I realized that my missing element was water, meaning I had to cultivate more water because it was very fire and earth and not water. And one of the lessons that I needed to learn in order to cultivate that element of water was learning how to flow and learning letting go, like the lesson of letting go and the practice of stillness. And I think one of the and spaces was stillness. I don't know if it was action, but it was That was an and space. And just the pause, or it was pause in action. I actually don't remember, and I'm not going to read all this, but I don't exactly remember what the and space was, but I know it really had me thinking about stillness and taking a pause. And so this is me just journaling that because I realized then that that's something that I needed to learn, along with letting go, which I have another entry in here between holding on and letting go. Definitely, that was another thing that I needed to learn this year, was this and space. This is an and space between holding on and letting go. The and is that middle portion, and that is where I was like for most of the beginning of 2023. I was still holding on to, I guess, my ex and that experience when I should have been letting go, even though I was in the process. And that being in that process of just that tug of war between holding on and letting go, that's the end space. So a lot of journaling there, a lot of processing things. This was from a Bella Grace magazine, and I loved it because it was safe places to leave your heart. And my word was heart, and so I wanted to get that in here. And I did want to journal here, but I don't know, I didn't get around to journaling there. So I just left it blank. This, I loved this prompt that I did in the course. But basically, this was talking to my inner critic, and it was just an art journaling page. And it's a lot of journaling, a lot of covering up journaling, and of course, self-portrait. Love that. These are my letters to myself, and so this is a tiered pocket, and each pocket has an envelope. So letter to my older, wiser self, if this one can come out of this pocket. This was a letter to my present self and a letter to my younger self. And I'm not going to pull these out because literally it's just a letter that I wrote to each of my selves. Another self-portrait. I was going to journal here, and I just did not do that. This was fun. In the course, we make a zine, and this was my little zine here, and I just kind of, very mixed media, and I tucked it into this pocket. It's one of Nazi's pockets. This is a printable from my course. It's James Baraz's 10 States of Awakening Joy. There's a whole section about cultivating joy, and this is one of my favorite Being Well podcast episodes with James Baraz. You know, Being Well was the podcast that I used to work for. Beautiful podcast. I highly recommend if you like personal growth and wellness and psychology. This is one of my favorite episodes. So I made his 10 steps into a printable because this was something that I kind of wanted to remember, and I thought it would be useful for everyone taking the course to kind of remember that while they're cultivating joy. In the course, I challenge everyone to go on some artist dates, and so this is me documenting some of the artist dates that I went on. I did some more, but these were some good ones. These were some good ones that kind of got me out of my comfort zone a lot. There's also a lesson about your recipes for happiness. These are just recipe cards where you make one for all sorts of seasons of your life. So this is a recipe for happiness. This one is a recipe for self-care. This is a recipe for cheering myself up. And this one's a recipe for having a good day. So if I need, if I want to have a good day, this is the recipe. And these are the things that I can do to have a good day. And you can have a recipe for anything that brings you joy. And so that was what this lesson was about. And I just have it here in an envelope that's literally tipped in to the center of my journal. This was from a planner, my Katie Daisy planner. I didn't need this, but I love the artwork, so I just glued it in here. This is another one of Nazi's envelopes, and in here are my postcards saying thank you to people who really impacted my year. And so I'm not going to pull all those out, but they're in there. Another selfie. I was going to do journaling here. That didn't happen. This is my lotus flower. This is a lesson about just kind of reviewing your challenges that you went through in the year and how you've grown from it. And the lotus flower is paper piece. So these are different pieces of paper to create this. And then I just did a write-up of like the practices that I ended up doing this year that really nurtured my heart. One of them, a big one, was my jar of artist dates, which is it's a lesson in the course, and just how that just doing those things that I put in there got me out of my comfort zone, kind of got me out of my shell and helped me grow in ways that I didn't think that I could grow. And then I talk about my Soulscape journal, which I've talked about a bunch of times on this channel, but this one, just getting me to write and write and write and help process and help envision and sort of manifest and say my prayers really in written form and just document all those things, and studying astrology and all the other things that I kind of took a deep dive into. I wanted to get all that journaling in here, and then that was it. That's pretty much all I did in this journal. And so I just have the rest of the pages in the back, and then again I took out the second signature because I wouldn't need it anymore for like this one. And so this is my 2023 Unraveling journal, and I'm quite happy with it. I wish I was able to get into it more, and I think what really hindered that process was the fact that I literally, like almost every page in this journal was filmed. Like I have a process video doing a lot of what's in this journal, and it's kind of challenging to really kind of open your soul up to a journal like this when you know that you have to film it and you have to edit it, and then you have to present that content in a way to help someone else do the same. But I really wanted to get that unfurling course out because it's been in the works for like 4 years, 4+ years. It's an insane amount of time, and it just felt like the right time to do it. And so, yeah, I'm hoping when I can ever get into this journal that this one, 2024's, would be a lot better. So far, it's not, because it's already March and I haven't even started. I did print out a selfie though to do that, but yeah, I just need to come in and do this. I even have like the stuff that I want to include for my vision board already picked out and everything. And so definitely doing my introduction pages and my vision board is something that I really should do now that I'm pretty sure I can find the time to do it. But yeah, that is my Unraveling journal for 2023. I just wanted to come on and share that and flip that with you. I hope you enjoyed. I will leave all the links to everything that I mentioned down below in the description box. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, friends, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.